2017 Grey Cup game goes to Ricky Ray and the Toronto Argonauts. The 105th Grey Cup is double blue.
The Canadian Football League provides the country's top talent a stage to shine.
Shot Johnson loose. He's got it.
Top draft pick in 2016.
Brad Sinopoli has the major.
Tonight, the spotlight shines on the new class, the night they've all been waiting for, to hear their name called and prove they belong. As the clock ticks down on the first overall pick, it is time for the CFL Draft. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have been busy completing a trade on Wednesday that basically lets them own the draft with 4 of the first 15 picks. In that collection will be the number 1 overall pick, which previously belonged to Montreal. 2017 was a dismal season for the Als. They need more Canadian talent. Today will be a big day for them. Is it June yet? It is still May. But it is the Canadian Football League Draft, the most important day in the last few months for 69 young Canadian hopefuls, and we will be here for the first 2 rounds on TSN to break it all down for you. Then the balance of the draft on TSN.ca. We will have Dwayne Ford, Dave Naylor, and Davis Sanchez to break it all down for you. But first, it has been a very busy 24 hours. 3 big trades involving 6 teams and multiple picks. All fingers are all over the first round of the draft, and it includes the first and second pick, which essentially were swapped. Hamilton gets the first overall pick, Montreal gets the second overall pick, and Ryan Bombin, a player who can instantly plug in to their starting offensive line. And guys, for both teams, how necessary was this trade?
Well, for Montreal, obviously, this is huge because for the Alouettes, you go into the draft knowing that you need immediate help. You need to have a better season than you had last year, and you're not always necessarily going to get that when you talk about drafting a rookie. But using the draft process to allow yourselves to get a Canadian starter, particularly on that offensive line, I think is huge for the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, and there was a lot of thought yesterday, talking to people around the CFL, that Montreal was going to take Trey Rutherford, the offensive lineman of the University of Connecticut, who is not entertaining any NFL offers right now, with the first pick. And if Hamilton wanted Mark Chapman, why wouldn't they just sit there? Well, I think they were afraid that Montreal was going to trade out of that first spot and somebody else might get Chapman. That's where we think Hamilton is going with this one. And in trading Bombin, they also save a little bit of money just in case they need some cap space to, I don't know, sign another quarterback before the start of training camp?
Anybody in particular, yeah. Now, what was possibly a weakness is now a strength, it looks like, for the Alouettes, and that's the depth of their Canadians. They might not be deep in a 1-2 depth charts, but what they are is they have versatility to go in different places now. I look at that as a big move for them. Bombin's huge in that regard. They were going Chapman 1. Hamilton had to get in front of them to do that.
All right, fellas, let's take a look at the first round of the CFL Draft and what this looks like right now. And Hamilton with 2 picks in the first round at number 1 and number 6. BC at 3 and 7 with 2 picks as well. Again, Montreal now in second spot. Ottawa at 4, Saskatchewan at 5, Hamilton and BC. And then rounding it out is Calgary and Toronto, Winnipeg and Edmonton with no picks in the first round. Joining me now is CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie, who at one point was taken 2nd overall in the CFL Draft. I know you're looking forward to today. And take us through your first year and just how much you've enjoyed it and how much you're looking forward to getting back on the field with these guys.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. You know, I came in, as you know, the season already started, but I spent a lot of time in a lot of stadiums, watched a lot of football, which is, of course, easy to do. It was such a great season. The interaction with our great partners, TSN, and all of our great corporate sponsors and partners was fantastic. The real joy, of course, is being around our fans and just having a chance to see the passion they have for this great league of ours. And the other is, you know, watching our players play this great game. And I've said all along, I think we've got world-class players, and they're also world-class people, and it's great to be around them. So that first year was great. Can't wait to get the second year started. I know that during Grey Cup week, we broke the story that Halifax could be coming on board in the not-too-distant future, and that story's been ongoing. Talk about the stadium and the ownership group. Can you give us an update on where we're at with Halifax? Yeah, it's an ongoing process. So there's, you know, I wish I could say that there was something definitive, but what there is really good process. The group we're working with have been fantastic. They continue to, you know, work the process, making sure they're not missing any steps. We've been talking to them all along and talking about, you know, how it would work if we can pull all this together. So it's been very positive, very progressive, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to do this offseason on a new collective bargaining agreement, which expires after 2018. And these things tend to get contentious. They tend to go to the 11th hour, if not beyond. Can you take us through your strategy in terms of how you want to get this done with the Players Association?
Yeah, I think it all just starts by being good communicators with one another. We've been meeting every month, and we've done that really right from when I started. I really enjoy the talking to the guys at the PA. They're really good people. They want the same thing. They want the CFL to be strong and prosperous. We're talking a lot together about how we grow the game. How do we make the game stronger? That's ultimately how everyone's going to win. And I think they've been fantastic partners. I love the players. I want to support the players. But the way I'm going to do that, the way we're going to do that together is by making the league bigger and stronger, and that's the nature of the conversation we've been having.
And now why we brought you here, I'll turn it over to you to open up the 2018 CFL Draft.
Well, it's my pleasure to announce the Canadian Football League Draft 2018 Draft officially open. Hamilton, you are on the clock.
And here's what things look like for Hamilton as far as their Canadian content is concerned. With Bombin gone, potentially Landon Rice moves into that offensive line spot, and they've got some depth there and some competition and some potential options. As you look at this, Shamad Chambers got brought in last year. They'd like to get a couple in on the defensive side of the ball, potentially 3. Where do they need the most help, Dwayne?
Well, the thing that stands out for me, Farhan, when you look at the Hamilton Tiger Cats roster is at receiver. And specifically, you consider the retirement of Andy Fantuz. You're talking about a high-end Canadian player. And so you want to try to fill that spot. Obviously, that then allows you the flexibility to possibly start 2 Canadian receivers. That gives you, with the trade of Ryan Bombin as well, a little more flexibility on the offensive line if you want to go American heavy there.
Well, when Shamad Chambers, you mentioned him, he was a midseason trade last year going from the Edmonton Eskimos to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Hamilton was mostly out of it by early in September, but Shamad Chambers really flourished with the Ticats, and I think they're looking forward to him having a big year. His challenge has been staying healthy. And when you look at him, Mike Jones behind him, you can see why they would want Mark Chapman to go in there and to be able to compete for playing time and give them some flexibility to perhaps start 2 Canadian receivers this season.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. If you look at the offensive side of the ball, if the June Jones is going to get his 5 receivers out there, American receivers, we look at 4 of them maybe. It's going to depend on what happens in the secondary and what happens on the defensive line. If they can shift that ratio a little bit, now June Jones gets what he wants. That's 4 American receivers.
And you have to believe the June Jones fingerprints are going to be all over this draft. Again, Hamilton with 4 picks in the first 15. It is going to be a busy couple of hours for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And for the first time in quite a long time, we don't see Kent Austin in the war room. Nonetheless, the Ticats with the top pick when we return.